trying to sell you like a bow and arrow. Like, man, how
Yeah.
am I going to take that home? Like made of wood, and I'm not into bow and arrows, mate.
Yeah.
Man, so like you obviously do a lot of running because that's a real
Mm.
big thing in Thailand. And I noticed
Yeah.
that you run at a fair old pace, like you're not hanging
Mm.
around. But talk us through, like, say, just an average week of training that you would do over there, like your mid-fight
Mm.
camp. What's an average week look
Mm.
like?
So I normally do about 2 to 3 10 kilometer runs, like 8 to 10 kilometer runs a week. When you're in Bangkok or in Isan, there's no question you're running 10Ks every morning. I like Phuket better because you don't have to do those 10Ks, and I think the 10Ks are really good for your mind, but for the sport specificity, you need to change it up a bit. So I do those runs 2 to 3 times a week. I do sprints and hill sprints on top of that, air bike sprints. And then when I was leading up to that MMA fight, they don't really do this for the Muay Thai fighters because Muay Thai is already hard enough, whereas MMA is a bit more like drilling and stuff. With that MMA fight, they made you go through a circuit. And because I was doing the circuit with one of the other boys, Peter Danase, he fought in the road to UFC. We were doing 3 5 minute rounds where my fight was only 3 minute rounds. So normally I'd be doing three threes. This time I was doing three fives. And
Yeah.
the goal of that session is very similar to Adesanya's spider session, where it's just like the goal is to break you. Like they'll put you on the air bike for 30 seconds and then you'll be on the wall doing press ups for like X amount of time. Then you got to drag someone to the wall and then they're wrestling you and then they've got you down and you got to get up and then you're hitting the pads. Like it's just non-stop. And the goal is just to try to break you. And everyone's screaming at you, like you're slowing down. It's like, no, don't fucking slow down, put the pressure on. Like, and that's very similar to what a fight is like. So they'll put you through those hard sessions as well if you've got an MMA fight coming up. But for the Muay Thai, man, it's mostly just run, skip, shadow box, pad work, sparring, clinch work, all the classic Thai style stuff. The wrestling classes is mostly just technique. So you do technique and then you'll go into live rolls, and wrestling's exhausting, man. I still keep it up at least once a week leading up to Muay Thai fights just because it is so taxing on the body. I think it definitely pushes my fitness to another level because I can be doing, I could be fine doing Muay Thai non-stop. Like I could be, at my peak fitness for Muay Thai and then I get in one wrestling scramble, I'm gassed. So I try to keep that wrestling session, at least one wrestling session up, and jiu-jitsu 2 to 3 times a week while I'm still in Muay Thai camp. So I'm obviously thinking a bit longer term when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Like there'll be times where I'll just drill and then I'll maybe have one roll and I'll be like, okay, I'm done. I'll go shower and eat and go to bed before my afternoon session. And then there'll be other times where it's like, no, I'm feeling good. I'll do all 5 rounds of rolling.
I'd assume that the wrestling would make you way stronger in the clinch in the Thai boxing
Mm,
fights anyway.
mm. Yeah, they're it's definitely a different type of grappling. Like clinching is very uptight. Like you got to get there in the head. You got to worry about elbows and stuff like that coming at you. Clinching, you've got your hips in a lot more, whereas wrestling, you've got your hips out because if your hips are in, you're just going to get body locked and taken down.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different type of thing, but I definitely did notice my actual strength went up when I started wrestling. But you just got to be able to separate the two. So it's like, okay, when I'm in Muay Thai class, I'm doing Muay Thai. When I'm in wrestling class, okay, now I'm able to do the wrestling.